Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Black Desert Online, the character creator for this game. Now, the character creator has been released very recently to the general public, not just those who have access to the closed beta test. And, well, I'm very excited to show you everything this creator can do, basically. Let's get into it straight away. I'm just going to note that the audio and video for this are recorded separately due to some technical issues that I've been having over the last, well, week or so now. Anyways, of course, this is just the character creator, and I expect that I certainly hope that there will be changes to it in the future, but for now, this is what we have, and you're able to download this. Just Google Black Desert Character Creator, and you'll get this. And you can download it, and basically anyone can download it right now, regardless of whether you're interested in the game or not, regardless of whether you have the game or not. You can just go and play with this if you want to. So, let us begin. Character name settings. This confused me a little bit at first, so I'm gonna just put my name in here. It is always a little bit awkward when you're recording audio and video separately, but unfortunately I have to do it for now. So this, however, this can be later then transferred into the game itself. So let me just pick a server here. But yes, anything you create here can be imported then into the actual game, which is worth noting. Now, we go to create a character. Do you want to create a new character? Yes, absolutely. That's why we're here. And we take a look at the classes: Warrior, Ranger, Sorceress, Berserker, Tamer, Valkyrie, Wizard, and Witch. These are the classes available to us, and it is very important to note that these classes are very different. Not in the gameplay perspective, obviously a wizard will cast spells, a warrior will bash stuff with his shield and cut people with his sword. Yes, obviously that is rather obvious, but they look different. A witch is different from a ranger, is different from a sorceress, right? Their options for modifying their look are different, especially evident if you take a look at the warrior and the berserker and the wizard. These are three completely different characters and look completely different. You can't make a warrior that looks like a berserker. Well, you can a little bit, but you can't make a warrior look exactly the same like an average berserker, right? And that is way too much upskirt action, way more than should be legal. I may have to censor some of that, which means painful video editing. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly pick a couple of, click on a couple of classes here to show you what the base preset for these classes look like, and then you can of course modify them. The way I'm going to do this video from now is basically what I'm doing is I'm going to pick a warrior, and I'm going to modify him and make a character. I'm not going to make myself. I'm not going to make. But what I'm doing is I'm building a character. I have this character in my head, and it's kind of like art in that way. Well, at least a little bit. I have this character in my head, and I want to turn him into a MMO character in the game. Now, I'm going to make this character loosely, very, very loosely based off of Kirito from Sword Art Online. If you've seen that anime. If you haven't, don't worry. It's not going to be Kirito. I'm not trying to make a character that looks like that. I'm trying to make a character that's roughly based on that character. Okay? So, the actual look at the cursor thing doesn't actually work that well. You see, it kind of works, but again, this is just basically beta testing. Nothing here is represented on the final product, and you should bear that in mind. But from what little I've seen of it, well, not from what little I've seen, you'll see the entire character creation menu, but from what I've seen of it, it is very impressive. Just to get that out of the way before we actually do some character creation. Now, I know that there are people that dislike building their characters for a very, very long period of time. I know there are people that just like to click randomize a couple of times and be like, yep, that's my character. I am, for the most part, not one of them. So I'm just going to say it right here. The character creation menu has a lot of options, although it's lacking options in some areas, namely the hairstyles, the beards, and the body sliders. I wish there were not more, but I wish there were more. The extremes were further apart, basically. So I can't make him fat enough, nor can I make him thin enough for my taste. I wish that I could change that at least a little bit more. Now, obviously, this will lead to people making huge, gigantic characters if you overdo it. No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a little bit more buffed character and a little bit skinnier than what we can make them right now. So that's what I'm looking for, as well as a few extra hair options and beard options. Here's the different poses that you can make, and that's going to be useful later on when we actually build the character. So, for those of you that aren't particularly interested in creating your character in Black Desert Online or in any MMO, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but you may leave, because this is basically, the rest of this video is basically going to be about 40 minutes of me tweaking around with 1 or 2 characters and seeing what we can do in this creation kit that we've been given, basically. So, that said, there are these constellation star signs, basically. I don't call them star signs, but yeah, it's fairly similar to star signs. They exist. I have no idea what sort of impact they have on the game, but I didn't actually. There's many of them. Okay, there's plenty of them. Fair enough. But the character I had in mind was actually a combination of 3 of these, so it's a bit iffy, but I suppose it's enough options. It's a bit arbitrary. I don't think it actually means anything. I think eventually, when I'm done clicking through all of them and reading what they say, and you can actually read what they say on the video as well if you're interested, I'm going to go for the hammer because it is reminiscent of. It sort of reminds me of the at least base characteristics and features of this character that I'm building here. So there's, I don't know what they mean, by the way. I don't know what sort of impact they may or may not have in the game. I just wish to point that out, and then we can move on and basically do other stuff. So the elephant seemed rather fitting and interesting, but I think I've chosen hammer eventually. I'm pretty sure because it sort of fits Kirito, doesn't it? Or a character based on Kirito. So. I'm realizing something. I've taken way too long to do this. Yeah, there we go, hammer. I've taken way too long to pick through all this stuff, but it is basically what people do. And I'm reminded, what a lot of people do, I'm reminded here a lot of Fallout 4, and when its character creation thing got announced, you can also check the different gear at different levels here. I'm not sure what the P letter stands for. I think that's like, well, not premium gear, but like advanced gear, like towards the end of the game level gear. I like it. I like it. There's variation. There's some historical accuracy somewhere. It's a bit inaccurate later on, as usually MMOs tend to get. But that said, I really do like the gear. At least the one that's shown here. I like the modeling. Now let me talk about the characters themselves as we dive into the different hairstyles, and well, here there's really not a lot to talk about. I'm just going to click through different hairstyles and tweak them slightly, and you can see that there isn't anything to be commented there, but in terms of the vibrancy of the colours and the characters themselves, I think are very, very important in this game. The game seems, at least to me right now, extremely vibrant in colour. Their characters seem extremely colourful as well. And that's really the word. Colourful. Very, very colourful. Nothing else. Just that's the first striking feature that you see. Very, very colourful and dynamic. Which is good. There is an argument to be made that they are maybe slightly overdoing it. I don't think so, though. I think that they're striking a fine balance. Why? This is an MMO. People tend to spend way more time playing MMOs than other RPGs. Predominantly single-player based RPGs. Examples: Dragon Age, Fallout, Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls, or any of the Elder Scrolls games, really. Games like those, right? People tend to play through them once, 3 times, 5 times, and then that's it. MMOs are a different story. People spend more time playing them. Take a look at something like World of Warcraft. People still play that, and they've been playing it since vanilla. There are those. You know, that is a huge amount of hours. Even if you don't spend like 5 hours each day playing it, you still play it every day or every other day. So for a game to be very vibrant, very pleasing aesthetically, striking, if you will, on an artistic level, is actually very, very important in an MMO, and I think it works better in an MMO setting. As I very unprofessionally slammed the door. I'm sorry. I think it's very, very important in MMOs, and you can see here in the colours and the way that their hair moves. And okay, that's ridiculous. What is that? I mean, don't what? Okay, that's a bit ridiculous. Okay. I wish, however, there were slightly more options with the hair in terms of how long or short I could make it. I managed to find what was basically perfect for me and what I want, but I can see how I may wish slightly different hairs. And I'm gonna take a look at the different colours, and apparently black is way too black, which is always a good sign. Nobody's hair is completely black. I mean, unless you paint it. I don't think anyone on Earth has that black of a colour. It's shining black almost. So yeah, I'm gonna go for like a grey-ish colour. Well, I mean, not really greyish. He's gonna have black hair, just not painted black. He's gonna have natural black hair eventually. Colours are really good. You may have heard me mention this already. Yes, colours are very, very good, and the characters seem to have. I don't want to say soul, but they seem to be. They seem to be really, really nicely done. Apart from the males, yes, the females, a slightly different story because I think that's way too white. I was thinking for future reference maybe I could make a Geralt, a White Wolf character that's it's way too white. But yeah, the female characters, I don't know. With the female characters, you're seriously going towards anime and the sort of that style of doing things, which is I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's different, let's say. Whereas with the males, you still have that sort of similar feel, but they're not supermodels, all of them. They look great, they look beautiful, but on a little bit of a different on a different approach. They're not hollow. They have some character behind them. See the linings on the lips, actually, even right now, you can see slightly asymmetrical faces there. Very slightly, actually, with the lines on his face. But yeah, which is something I'm going to talk about later when we get to the face sculpting. But and yes, the face sculpting is very similar to the one in Fallout 4, but we'll get to that in a bit. I'm going to choose the base face here, and the colours, you can do that. It's weird that you can do that, but you can't change their body too much, like the size of their arms and their height and everything. It's weird you can make them basically pitch black or yellow or green or blue, but you can't make them bigger or smaller for that matter. So we'll see. Again, this is all subject to change, and I've been okay. Never mind. Facial hair. This is very unlike Kirito. Kirito doesn't have any facial hair, but I love that type of beard. It's my one weakness, and I am prepared to admit it. I really love that facial hair. Really, really do. So that's going to be the character. Excuse me. Other things. What am I trying to build here? I suppose it's fitting to talk about that a little bit. I'm trying to build a hero, a good guy, a really, really good guy. The type of anxious and reckless person that's going to go out of his way to help people, maybe even mess things up on accident. So a really almost unrealistically good guy, and that wants to help the world and make the world a better place, but with hints of experience. So he's not naive. Usually you see the main problem with heroes is they're very naive. In more ways than one, not being naive in the sense of being tricked by others, but naive in their ideals, I suppose. This guy is going to be experienced, which is why the beard's there. It adds to that. So we're building a character's we're building his internal self based upon his external self, I suppose. Yes. There's beards and moustaches, obviously. We're not going to go for that. We're going to go for like a 5 o'clock shade is basically what we're going for. And the face sculpting. Okay. Is that not amazing? Look at it. Look at it. I think this is my favourite part of the character creator. You can grab tiny little bits of his face and move them in wherever you see fitting. You can just move them wherever you want. You can do whatever you want with them. You can create beautiful looking characters. You can create monstrosities. Sorry, monstrosities. It is absolutely amazing. I love this. Absolutely love it. And now I'm going to spend about 30 minutes modelling this guy's face, making very slight adjustments and changes. Now, while we're doing this, it's important to say something about what I'm doing here with the eyes. And I think this is useful, and I think this is very good that we have the option to do this. Though I assume a lot of people aren't going to be talking about this. This doesn't have anything to do with the game itself. This is more like the artist in me trying to make a point, I suppose. But it is a character creation menu, and there's a limited amount of things that we can talk about. So while we're looking at face sculpting now, or face modeling, face shaping, I suppose they're calling it. It's the same thing practically. Here's what I'm. Let me tell you something. You may or may not have heard of this before. What makes a person physically attractive for someone else? When we look at their face, do you know? You may or may not be aware, but in the vast majority of situations, it is how many asymmetrical features does he have? The fewer, the more attractive he is. And everyone has asymmetrical features on their face. Maybe it's your nose, maybe one of your ears is slightly bigger than the other one. Maybe your mouth is going slightly one way or the other, either naturally or you just put it like that at the moment. Maybe one of your eyes is a bit more closed than the other one, or vice versa. There's all sorts of, maybe your cheeks are different. It's a millimetre maybe of difference, maybe even less than that. But we can register that subconsciously most of the time. We can see that, and that's how our brain determines, oh, I like that person, or oh, I don't like that person. It's why when you see someone wearing sunglasses and approaching you, he looks way more attractive than a person without sunglasses. Fact. So when someone says first impressions matter, oh yeah. Hell yeah, they matter. So, you can do that here. You can create tiny little asymmetrical features on his face and give him character in that sense, because you're not making a supermodel. Again, you can, especially with female models, but you can also make characters, real characters with distinct features, memorable, with imperfections and basically all your perfect imperfections, all your curves and all your edges, but you can do that, and the mouth editing is a bit finicky, and actually I think that's the only part of the face sculpting I don't like. But when Fallout 4 got released, and when it's actually the trailer on, I think it was E3, came out, it had a very similar system, and you can see the similarities. You can basically mold a face like that in Fallout as well, and people were freaking out over that, and now we get basically the same thing here, and I think it's a very, very good system. Compared to sliders, which are often arbitrary, but compared to sliders that you get in older RPGs and older MMOs, where you basically choose, eyes, left or right, up or down, good, moving on. Or you get types of eyes, type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, pick one you like, it's usually 1 or 10 because they look the most pleasant, I suppose. Pick one or the other and move on. Here you get to go in fine detail about every single little part of his face. And you can argue that doesn't exactly matter too much. I'm going to reduce the size of his nose here because I really don't like my characters having big noses and having that be sort of a striking feature about them. I like to search for that elsewhere. But yes, you don't spend that much time looking at a character's face, which I'm going to talk about later. You spend like 80% of your time looking at his butt because it's in third person and you're running, right? Yeah, it's which is why I demand more butt options be added. But yeah, in conversations with other NPCs, in idle waiting around, I suppose, and then you get to look in his face, and more importantly, other people get to look at your face, so you want to look decent, right? And it's good that they paid so much attention to the way your character actually looks. I'm very, very happy to say that we can edit this in an MMO. We can edit a face of someone in very, very great detail. Would I like there to be more extreme options on like both ends, both vertical, horizontal, more to the left and more to the right, I guess? Not really. Not really, I don't think so. Realizing that this is set in a fantasy medieval world and not a realistic medieval world, the characters can get away with looking like supermodels, some of them at least. Some classes in particular, let's say. But I don't want people. I don't want to. It basically ruins the game when you, or it improves. It depends on your take on it, but it definitively, let's say, changes the game when you look at someone approaching you and he looks like a bloody Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings, in a land where basically every other NPC is a supermodel. So it's immersion breaking. That's what it is. The eyes I like. You can change pupils, irises, and lenses, and there's a decent variety. You can completely change the way his eyes appear by removing the opacity of a lens. And these look a bit hollow, but a bit more realistic. Whereas these look more sort of cartoony, more Arcadian, unrealistic, but they look more striking and they make the character look better. So you can choose one or the other, and I think that's really nice. There's some very, very nice options for the eyes, for the face as well, but there's also some options missing, or rather lack of, when it comes to hair, both facial and hairstyle. So yeah, I wish we could have some more of that, but again, I'm assuming that will be added later on. You can also do makeup. That makeup is very familiar to me. I don't know where I've seen it last, but I think it's actually common. I like it. I'm not gonna put any makeup on my character, which is again, I guess, another thing. You could put on different types of makeup and make yourself look like that. Which is, I mean, I don't know. What I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of variety and a lot of options and a lot of different approaches you can take to creating the character. I like how I'm getting to the point of the video, 23 minutes in, 24 now. I have no idea what standby expressions are, so I'm not going to poke around with them too much. I may ruin everything. Here's the thing, there's various approaches you can take to making a character, right? Basically, I really like the raised hair as well. I have no idea when it can be lowered, when it can be raised, but I like them both. But I digress. You can take an arcadey and almost anime or cartoony approach. You can give him makeup like that. You can make him look like a Victoria's Secret model. You can make him look like a fucking Playboy model for all I care. There's another approach. You can make him look as ugly as you physically can, which is okay. There are people that do it. I know. Tertiary, you can make him look as realistic and as immersive as possible. Here's my problem. Well, not my problem, but here's something to consider, which may be a bit problematic. if you go for one, the other two break immersion in the game. It's unpleasant to have to work together with someone that looks completely the opposite of you and has gone in a completely different direction and wears all sorts of makeup and eyeliners and has neon pink hair, whereas you're this gritty, smug, medieval dude with realistic features and made as close to photorealism as possible, whereas the other one is just going completely bonkers. It ruins a sense of immersion in the game, and I may be looking for immersion in the wrong place in an MMO. Fair enough, I guess that's an option, but I think it's worth noting that with so many different options to the character creator, you also run the risk of something like that happening, and some people are put off by that. But also, though, the counter-argument to that would be you can play Lone Wolf style, right? Absolutely, you can play an MMO Lone Wolf style. Some people find that weird. I find that completely normal and acceptable. And there's a lot of people that play Lone Wolf, and I often see people confused by that, and I think it really should be. But if you do choose to play it like that, then I guess it sort of alleviates that problem at least for a bit. But yeah, it's basically there was a joke again going back to Fallout 4 because it's the most similar character creation system to. Like, there's so many similarities between the two more than any other. So I guess also Terra I suppose should be mentioned. I'm going to go back to Fallout in a bit, but Terra is also worth mentioning. It seems like this game has taken a lot from Terra in terms of the way their characters are designed and the way you, even in the interface a little bit, and the way that there's different appearances between classes. Terra gets away with that using races. These guys get away with it with using different classes, as I said. So yeah, I like it though. I really do. There are similarities with Terra, and Terra had a very good character creation system. Well, I say had, it still has. It's still a popular MMO. So it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing that they can use some good ideas that Terra had and implement them into their game. And I like the way that they've sort of made it almost a combination between what Terra had and what Fallout has. Or again, Terra has still, because yeah. So there's also tattoos, some weird, some very weird, others not so much. Others, there's also that. I mean, some of these things don't even look like tattoos. But yeah, add a tattoo and you make the character 100% more memorable just by putting ink on his body. So I guess it's a cheap way to make him more personal, I suppose. And that's a great looking tattoo, by the way. Let's be honest. And for the purposes of me building a memorable, gritty, a tiny gritty experience, but mostly good and honourable hero, I think this certainly works to his advantage. So he's way more memorable now. Look at him. But I was starting to talk about Fallout 4. Back to Fallout. I actually lost that train of thought completely. It was about their face sculpting, I think, something that I wanted to say, but I think I mentioned most of what needed to be said there, I believe. Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Okay, well, basically, here you can take a look at the body sculpting itself. And as I said, I wish not in some areas that I could take it to the further extreme. In terms of the arm length, it's good. I don't want unrealistically long arms or unrealistically short. It's stupid. But look at the muscles. I want bigger muscles. I want bigger than that. I want slightly bigger muscles than that, and I can't have them. Also, his stomach looks a little bit weird. So there's something that could be changed there, let's say. Also, for some reason, you're able to edit his fingers individually. Not only that, you're able to edit parts of his fingers individually. why? Adding to that, I would love to see presets for the body. Not just me, yes, I'm grabbing him by the crotch. You can make that joke, I allow it. Clench your buttocks, please, because that's what we're going to be looking at for like 80% of the game. There we go, perfect. Again, not enough options when it comes to the back, especially the lower back. Jokes aside, I would like to see some presets for the body, but alas, alack, there aren't any, so I have to edit everything ourselves. But I think presets would be good for like having like a fatter guy, a thinner guy, a muscular guy, and an average guy, and work off, base your work off of those. Kind of like Star Wars: The Old Republic has. I would like to see that. Some guys a bit taller, some guys a bit shorter, but we don't have that yet. It may be added in the future. I certainly hope it will be. There's been jokes. Actually, I remember what I was going to say. When people first started looking at their characters in Fallout 4 and seeing how they can, to what great extent of detail they can edit their characters, they started saying, "Oh, how many days are you going to spend on the character creation screen?" And some people, went through it very quickly. Others took their time, which is fairly obvious. I mean, that's usually how it goes. But not only that, people were very amused and I don't think amused is the right word when it came to the extent of details you can apply to a character, and I think here is no different. And you can now crack the joke of how many hours have I spent building my characters, and the answer is 49 minutes and 44 seconds. It took me to fully familiarize myself with this character creation system and build my first. I built my first character in less than that, but I then went back and checked out a couple of different options as well. So, yeah, about half an hour to make a character. I think it's completely acceptable. Again, I said there are people that like to do it in 5 minutes. Oh well. I know I've seen people that are very dedicated to this sort of thing, that want their character to look like some celebrity or some anime character or whatever, and you can definitely do that with this. I think it's a very powerful tool. I'd like to be a bit stronger again with the sliders, but it's fine. Also, I should note that I am doing this entire sculpting thing with mouse and keyboard, or specifically the mouse because you don't do anything on the keyboard. I think it would be way easier with an Xbox 360 controller or a PS4 controller, or an Xbox One controller. I mean, same thing. Which is, just might be worth mentioning, I suppose. Well, there's more to this video, but I'm going to end the audio recording here because I think I said everything that I need to say. I'm going to tweak a little bit around with this character and try and make him, a bit more personal, a bit more memorable, have him... Essentially, I'm trying to build not just a pretty face, I'm trying to build a character both inside and outside, and trying to imagine what he's going to be like. So, that said, I'm going to do that a little bit, and then I'm going to jump in and check out the female character and the female characters and the Berserker, and show you a little bit of that, and then I'm going to end the video, but that's going to be without any audio. So, might as well say it now. Please remember to like and subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I bid you farewell. Take care. Bye-bye.